Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the F-14s in War Thunder and seeing what Gaijin could, theoretically, do with them. Now, I know what everyone is going to say in terms of the F-14, and the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the F-14 and what they can do for the future is add the F-14D. If you do not know, the F-14D is the very popular pick when people are talking about F-14s, as it is a common misconception that the F-14D could carry AIM-120s, therefore making it a valid addition to War Thunder and an addition that should have been in War Thunder already. However, that is a misconception. As I said, the F-14D was theorized and proposed and planned to have AIM-120s with an upgraded radar, but it never used AIM-120s IRL. The Hornet replaced the F-14 and surpassed it in almost every aspect in order to replace the F-14 before the D could get AIM-120s and the proper upgrades it needed. What does this mean for War Thunder, and why am I talking about it if the F-14D would essentially be a copy-paste of the F-14B with minor upgrades? That is because we already have an F-14 in-game that could carry AIM-120s. Let me explain. The F-14A that is already in War Thunder at 12.7 AirRB is the first iteration of the F-14. This carried AIM-54 Phoenixes, AIM-9 Sidewinders, and AIM-7 Sparrows. It was also specifically designed in order to carry the Phoenix, as it was the only radar that could launch them. It is a misconception that the Aardvark fired AIM-54 Phoenixes, even though it did not. It did not have a proper radar in order to fire the Phoenixes. When upgrading the F-14, it got better engines, as well as an upgrade to its current weapons kit. Better AIM-7s, better AIM-9s, as well as better AIM-54s. The AIM-54s it had access to were the AIM-54Cs, as well as the improved AIM-54Cs, which had a smokeless motor, as well as ECCM, which is similar to what the AIM-120D has to basically ensure better tracking and to prevent missile jamming. We currently do not have the better AIM-54C. We currently have just the base AIM-54C. Could be an interesting addition to add the better AIM-54C that would basically act like the Fakor 90 in terms of tracking, as the Fakor 90 has a better seeker than the AIM-54, but nonetheless, it is something that can be considered. Now, the image that has always popped up when people talk about the F-14 carrying AMRAAMs is this image right here. This image is allegedly the F-14D carrying 6 AIM-120s. The two most prominent ones are the ones on the wing pylons, as you can see, and it testing the ability to carry them. However, this is not the F-14D. This aircraft right here is the F-14A+. The F-14A+ also has the designation of the F-14B. Yes, you heard that right. The current F-14 that is in-game at 13.0, the F-14B, was the variant to carry AIM-120 AMRAAMs. However, there is a caveat to this. The F-14 was not able to fire the AIM-120s. This is due to the radar not being compatible in order to actually lock a target and fire it using the AIM-120. That is why with the F-14D, it was proposed to carry AIM-120s with the radar upgrade that would allow the F-14 to fire the missiles. What does this mean for War Thunder? There is a situation in-game where something similar has happened. The Su-34 currently has 2 hardpoints, even when stock grinding, on the underside of the intakes that were tested to be on the Su-34 but was never put in service. What Gaijin has done is, because of the image that was shown of the Su-34 carrying these 2 missiles underneath the intakes, has made it usable. Even though the Su-34 was not programmed to use those missiles, it was just tested for future Sukhois. The reason it was tested was because the Sukhoi technically used this for ground ordnance. This means that Gaijin is not against using fictional or extra loadouts in order to satisfy or make an aircraft viable. What this means for War Thunder, and what I propose that they do with the F-14s, is this. Move the F-14B to either A, 13.3, or B, 13.7. If it is moved to 13.3, give it 4 AIM-120s, all requiring to be on the inner pylons, keep the 2 Sparrows, as well as AIM-9Ls. Or move it to 13.7, and give it 6 AIM-120s, as well as the 2 AIM-9Ms on the outer wing pylons. Either way, I can see this basically saving the F-14, as the F-14 does have a decent flight model. It cannot dogfight most things at 13.7, however, you can rate fight a lot of things because the aircraft holds energy extremely well as it has a similar situation to the Gripen, where it has an extreme amount of countermeasures. It doesn't have as much as the Gripen or, say, the F-15 Golden Eagle, but it does have a substantially more amount of countermeasures for its BR, especially at 13.0. I think that giving it AIM-120s, even if it's a fictional loadout, could be viable and save the aircraft from just being forgotten, as you don't really see F-14A or Bs in War Thunder being used unless it's the Iranian Tomcat. And I find that really sad, as one of the main operators, as Iran can be considered the main operator of the F-14, but it is most famous with America. It's sad that it's just neither of them are used. Now, I am biased. I love the F-14B in-game currently, and I actually would not like to see it moved because I think it is relatively balanced where it is. This is another thing that I propose. What they could do is make an F-14B late and keep the current F-14B in-game and just make it an F-14B early. The F-14B early can stay at 13.0 with the current loadout and not change a thing about it. The F-14B late could have the AIM-120s be at 13.3 or 13.7, as I said, depending on loadout, and that be it. Just give it AIM-120s and have it be in the folder with the F-14s. I think that this could be balanced, but let me know what you guys think of this in the comments. Tell me if I'm crazy or not. I think that this might save the aircraft, and I personally would love to see it in game, as I would love to have an F-14 with AMRAAMs, as I think that would actually be a pretty decent aircraft, and not a half bad aircraft even for the American tech tree, as in some situations, I like the F-14 flight model a lot more than the F-15 or the F-16, and especially the F-18. But let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya!